This is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com with another episode of Fast Action Fridays. And today it's my pleasure to welcome back one of my previous guests from the very first year back in 2014 when I started Fast Action Fridays. My guest's name is Dawn Petrovich, and she's an abundance coach. And if we couldn't all use more abundance in our life, I don't know what else we need. Maybe a little love. So, Dawn, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Basically, I practice the law of attraction, and I am really excited about teaching other people how to create more abundance in all areas of their life. I know it's a rough world out there sometimes, and people get stuck, and it's really just a pleasure for me to help them get unstuck. And
you've got a Facebook group that I'm a part of, and you post lots of, I love the variety that you post there. Some groups have gotten to be so full of just pre-planned posts. There's not much engagement there. Yours is a little bit different. And before we get into the tips, tell us a little bit about the group.
Well, it's basically a group that was created because I had an event at one time where I did like 30 days of prosperity tips and abundance tips. And when it ended, I thought, well, you know, these people probably need a little bit more. It takes a little bit more than 30 days really to form a habit, as we know. And so I formed the group from the event, and I basically just go, I'm a kind of fly by the seat of my pants kind of girl. So when inspiration hits me to post in there and I see something or I feel something, and I just post. So it's organized. It's not on a schedule. It's just, here, this really hit me today. So I'm sure that means it will speak to someone else.
And that's important. There are so many things and people that tell us this is the best way to do something. And what we need to do is make sure that we're following what we need to do. And we don't all have to do it exactly the same way. Now, if something's not working for us, it's ridiculous to keep doing it only our way, right?
Absolutely. Isn't it a famous Albert Einstein quote that says the definition of insanity is to do the same things over and over and expect different results?
Yeah, he's attributed to that. A lot of other people did too. Welcoming in new people. Some people are here by phone only, which we didn't have the option. Well, we did have on Blab, but they had trouble getting on. So welcome to the new people here. All right, Dawn, so we're talking about prosperity and abundance, and what are your fast action tips? What can we think about and take action on in 15 minutes or less to get us a boost?
The first one and one of the most important ones, I would say, is watch your language. The words I can't, basically I can't. Let's just take the words I can't out of your vocabulary. Anytime that comes out of your mouth, you better watch what you're saying, because it really does put energy out there. And if you change that language to I can, you'd be amazed at what happens and the inspiration that will come to you basically just by changing that language.
Right, exactly. All right, can you give us a good example of something we might let slip that's not in our favor and how we can tweak it?
I have something that happened to me this summer, and I live in Mississippi now, and I'm from Ohio, and I'm a big gardener. And I tried to grow a vegetable garden here, and the soil here is just totally different. I have about 80% sand in my soil, and tomatoes just didn't do really well. So this year I just bought big pots, and I got, good soil, and I planted the tomatoes in pots. But I was saying, I can't grow tomatoes in Mississippi, and guess what happened?
You couldn't grow tomatoes.
I couldn't grow tomatoes, just even though I had the right conditions. that energy was out there, and it's sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy would happen. My tomatoes all curled up and died, and I gave them the right conditions, and I said to myself and out loud, which is even more dangerous, I can't grow tomatoes in Mississippi.
Exactly. And that prevents us from looking for solutions because you found a solution, right?
Right.
Okay. So your tip number 2.
My tip number 2 is let go. We get so attached to certain outcomes, and if you just let go of that attachment, which is kind of difficult to do, but if you just believe that the universe has your back and let go of the outcome that you think is best for you, you'd be amazed at what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Did that recently myself. It's like I was holding on too tight to something that I wanted to happen a certain way, and I wasn't telling it it couldn't happen, but I was trying to define every little parameter and aspect of it, and thought, well, what if it needs to come in another way, or it needs to be tweaked? So it's kind of like that adage, if you love it, let it go, and it'll return to you. Right. All right.
Yeah.
What's next?
My next tip is to just really believe in yourself. I'm a little different than some of the coaches out there that tell you that you have to believe that what you want is going to happen, because I don't believe that you do have to believe that, but I do believe that you have to believe. There's a lot of beliefs in there. Am I confusing you out? You have to believe that you deserve it. Yes. And that it's possible, but you don't have to believe that it's absolutely going to happen.
That's an interesting prospect, and I agree that if you don't believe in yourself, nothing else is going to really happen. And if you're just sitting around waiting for permission for someone else to believe in you, that's probably the worst thing you can do. It's like, why should anyone else believe in you if you're not willing to believe in yourself? Right. Yeah, I always go back to what for me could have been a huge barrier and wasn't, but I remember back in elementary school, like in third or fourth, fifth grade, and I was running for class president against one of the boys. Now, you're talking in the 50s, early 60s. And the teacher pulled me aside and she said, you know what, Kathy? She said, it's not polite to vote for yourself. And I'm thinking, well, if I'm not going to vote for myself, why would I vote for my opponent? That just makes no sense. And even at that young age, I don't believe she pulled the boy aside and told him the same thing.
Wow.
I think it was just an anomaly that a girl was running for class president at that particular time. Yeah, so I was going to believe in myself at that time. Did I win? No, but I felt good about myself, and I went in and I voted for myself. Didn't feel ashamed about that at all. All right, next tip.
Especially at such a young age, because that's an age where a lot of people don't really have that ability to believe in themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've gone through the law of attraction and making sure that we're careful about what we say, believing in ourselves, the importance of letting go, and what else? I know you've got another really important one.
Giving. I believe that if you give, it returns to you tenfold, and that applies to everything. Love, money, everything.
That's great. All right. Give us a couple examples of that.
I have an example just from yesterday, actually, and I gave something away to a person, and it was a small nominal thing, and I was at the grocery store, and somebody was short a little bit of money, and I gave a little bit of money, and I came home from the grocery store, and there was a check in the mail for 5 times the amount that I gave. Unexpected check.
Yeah.
5 times the amount that I gave.
Don't you just love, that's one of the things I do love about social media, seeing the examples of people paying it forward, that really helps. All right, so we do have people joining us today, and everybody's unmuted at this particular point, I believe. If you've got, Ellen's here, Dawn's here, Not quite sure who 305 is. That might be Andrea over in Canada. Can't remember. I don't remember everybody's numbers like I used to. But if you've got a question or a comment or would like to share an experience, go ahead and do that. You can also use the chat that's down in the bottom of your window. I'm going to put Dawn's information in the chat window, and there is a way to save that directly to your own computer or phone if you've got that set up. The Facebook group is Embracing You, and it's spelled with 2 U's at the end, not just one. While we're waiting, tell us why there's 2 U's at the end of Embracing You.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I think it speaks for itself, because you are the most important element of any transaction. Your belief in yourself.
Yeah, great. I don't know if our phone person is trying to say something or not. I see it flashing, but it's not going. You can also put a question in the chat box. This is the first time we've done Fast Action Fridays on Zoom, so everything's a little squirrely from when we used to do it with strictly with an audio bridge line. And then since January 1st through last Friday, we were on Blab and had to switch because poof, Blab shut itself down. Committed a little bit of Harry-Carry there. All right.
You always roll with the punches, though, yes?
Oh, absolutely. All right. Dawn, tell us a little bit about your book, How I Found My Yellow Brick Road at the Pool.
Right. My book has the theme from The Wizard of Oz, which is you've always had the power. It sort of illustrates little stories and quotes from The Wizard of Oz that go along with my stories. And my basic story really quickly is when back way when I was working as the controller for a CPA firm, which was a job that I loved, quote unquote. And I took every Friday afternoon off in the summer and sat at the pool with my girlfriend. And every day that I sat out there with her, I said out loud, I just want to find out a way that I can do this every day. And lo and behold, 6 months later, I got fired from that job, which of course at first kind of scared me, but it started my career in self-employment, and I ended up working less hours for more money and was able to go to the pool every day during the summer, that is. I did live in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, awesome. And how did you get from Ohio to Mississippi?
That's another crazy story. I actually, 5.5 years ago, it was in March. It was in March, about 5.5 years ago. We had just gone through a really horrific winter in Cleveland, Ohio. And I said to I was a accounting contractor for a telecommunications firm, and I was part-time at the time. And I said to him, you know what? I cannot do another winter here. And I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing, but I need to give you my notice. And I gave him 6 months notice. And I really didn't know where I was going or what I was going to do, but I just knew that I couldn't do another winter. And I totally let go of the outcome. And as time progressed, first of all, a couple months later, he called me and asked me if I had ever thought of living in Atlanta. And I'm like, my dad lives there. And he's like, well, think about it. So he flew me down to check it out for living and said that he would offer me my same position remotely from Atlanta, which was a blessing in disguise because I got to reconnect with my father after 20 years of really being estranged from him. And like a month before I went, he said, you know what, would you agree to fly back to Cleveland once a month to spend a week in the Cleveland office? So I had totally put it out there, and I got the best possible solution to everything, and even more than I could have ever dreamed of. So I got to stay connected to all my friends, have company paid, returns home every week, every month for 10 days, and live in Atlanta and work at the pool. Great.
Okay. So did you go to Mississippi from Atlanta?
And then, yes, I went to Mississippi after that job ended. He hired a person between me and the CEO and he wanted everybody to move back to Ohio. And I'm like, I don't think that. So I got in my little car and I searched in Florida at first in the Panhandle. I wanted to be within driving distance of my father because he's 77 years old. And I didn't find what I wanted there. I came over to Mississippi on a whim, never been here in my life. Loved the area, 26 straight miles of beach on the Gulf Coast, and found a house that I loved, made an offer, moved here 3 weeks later. Been here 3 years now. Love it.
Wow. That's an awesome... There's so much that can happen when we do the things you suggested. We let go. We stop saying I can't and start looking for the solutions for how we can. I mean, to me, I've always been a solutions girl. I haven't always gotten what I wanted, but it annoys my husband sometimes because he'll say, this isn't working, I can't do this, and I'll immediately go into solution mode. And it's like, okay, well, let's see if there's a solution out there. And he wants to find out why something's not working, especially if it's computer related. And he'll say, but you can fix it. And he said, how did you do that? And I said, I'm not sure the steps I took to fix your computer problems. All I knew is that there was probably a solution, and I tried several things until one worked. I could still be sitting like you are trying to figure out why it wasn't working the way you wanted it to work, or I could go to the end goal. What did you want to happen at the end? Did I get you to the end with what you needed? Yes. Then why it didn't work really isn't all that important, is it, at this point? There are times when we have to evaluate and backtrack and figure out why something's not working, but too many times we hang ourselves up with that and say, and want to blame something. Like, okay, you can blame all you want, but it's not going to solve the problem, Yeah. All righty. Well, I don't know whether I had other people muted for a while. Unmuted. I'm going to unmute people. I know it's a little more difficult to figure out how to ask a question live on the phone, but everybody's currently unmuted. And Dawn, what closing words do you have for us?
Maybe as a summary, I just want you to all know that the universe really does have your back. And if you relax and let it bring you the things that you wish for and let go of any attachments to a particular outcome, you'll be amazed at what can happen in your life.
Oh, that's such important information. All right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to close the show, the recording, and we're going to stay on the line for, usually people have a few extra questions once we stop recording. So this is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com, closing another episode of Fast Action Friday, and wishing you the best week. And remember to keep rocking your unique path to success. See you next week.